Wisp Sports Radio, the voice of women in sport.
Hello, and thank you for downloading the Horse Show podcast here at Wisp Sports. This is Season 4, Episode 3, and I'm Chris Stafford. And welcome if you're joining us for the first time on the Horse Show podcast, where we cover international equestrian sport. This seems like a good time to kick off the show once more as the winter season wraps up and everyone focuses now on the spring season ahead. So on this week's episode, we'll be starting the countdown to this year's Land Rover Kentucky 3-day event and featuring some of the first-timers to the only 5-star competition in North America. And my first guest is California-based Frankie Thierot Stutes, who had a bumper season last year with her 11-year-old Oldenburg gelding Chatwin, when they culminated the season by winning the FairHill 3-day event. And I spoke to Frankie after her dressage at the Galway Downs International event in California this past weekend. This was their third outing of the year in preparation for Kentucky. Frankie, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Well, you're right in the middle of a competition there at Galway Downs, what is now the CCI 4-star short. And looking back on your records, you've done your dressage now.
Yeah, I mean, I just try to look at each competition for what it is. So, I wasn't particularly happy with the test yesterday. He got a bit tired, but I was really happy that things kind of went the way they did and transpired how they did, because I think we learned a bit about Chatwin, and having ridden him for so long, I think when he puts in a really good test, you don't maybe walk away with as much as my test yesterday. And we have some really good takeaways and, some things just transpiring. I only made it about a quarter away around the ring before the bell rang, and I usually do a bit of prep work once I'm in. So at Kentucky, you can bet that I'm going to be waiting at the gate as soon as that horse is done to get myself in there. And some other things like that I think just, I was a bit tentative going around the ring, and I usually do a bit of homework and just a few little things like that can actually, make or break a big score versus a good score.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, this is your third outing this year, preparing for Kentucky. So overall, I know you've got to go cross-country show jumping there at Galway Downs. Overall, in terms of his fitness, his preparation, and how he felt this, last year going into the season that you had, how does he feel overall in terms of his fitness and his mental state?
Yeah, I mean, I think Chatwin and I are in a very different place than we were a year ago, which is exciting, and you have to remind yourself that. I mean, both of us, from a physical standpoint, it was my first real outing back at the level after having a baby and everything last year. So I was just trying to get a bit comfortable back in my saddle and get my own fitness a little bit better and all of that. And last year we were coming off a bad fall at Twin to come here. So I think mentally we were just in a very different state. And I think especially in the flat, we're in a different place than we were a year ago in terms of knowing each other and being more comfortable at the level. Obviously, having, done Rebecca Farm and FairHill last year, I think Chatwin and I and our partnership are a lot further along than we were before. But that being said, I get nervous to come out of the box. Even if I was taking Chatwin, training level this weekend, I'd be scared. So I think it's just each show right now, as it was kind of last summer before Rebecca Farm, and then in the fall before FairHill, is very carefully planned. And, there's a goal at each phase that's very different, I think, if you're just going out competing or if you're getting prepared for something.
But incrementally, though, in terms of your partnership with him, it's obviously going in the right direction. You're consolidating on a lot of things there, Frankie, with him, because you've had such great results last year with him and such consistency. And we all know it's about consistency in this sport. And you've been really regarded as the rising star now for this next level of competition, what we're going to call the 5-star here in a minute. So I would imagine that this is a partnership that if anyone is going to go anywhere with you, I mean, given what you've had to do at home with family, raising a family and so on, this must feel really good and give you confidence. I know you take one event at a time, but going into a 5-star, do you not feel like, empowered really because you've had such great form with him?
I mean, honestly, no, not really. I try to take every show as it is. And I mean, I think a part of me can remind myself we can do it because we have. But Chatwin and I are both going into very uncharted waters. And the one thing I know is there's no horse in the world I'd rather be sitting on going into those waters. But,
right.
We're out of our element. And I don't know what Kentucky will bring. But I know that no matter what happens at Kentucky, my faith, belief, and true admiration for Chatwin won't change.
Right, and I think that's what I was getting at. You've got that sort of partnership, your trust and your confidence in him, and he in you, obviously. So, does this give you sort of a sense of excitement or nervous anticipation because it is going into the unknown? I'm
really excited, and I, it's fun to look forward to going down center line, and you have to put things in perspective. I mean, being disappointed when you're leading on a 28 puts things in perspective. And, I'm not disappointed ever in Chatwin. I'm disappointed, and disappointed is probably the wrong word because it's more of wanting it to always get better. And it's exciting that I know it can. So, I want to go to Kentucky and do our personal best. And the rest to me is fairly irrelevant, and wherever that puts us will be great. And I think it's also important to remember for me that I'm doing this because I really am doing it for fun, and I love Chatwin, and I want to go and I want to have fun. And it's an experience I've been wanting to have for a long time from a riding standpoint. And so my goal at Kentucky is just to take in every moment of getting to do it. And so, I mean, there's nerves jumping those fences, but at the same time, I'm excited to go down the center line on a horse of a lifetime, and a horse who, because I do all the work with Chatwin myself, I'm spending a inordinate amount of time with on a daily basis. So we have a very special partnership, and I'm, excited to get to see what goes on and how it all unfolds and to take in the process.
So it's the thrill of it all, and of course the pressure you're putting on yourself, not him, I'm sure. But it is the big event. Everybody wants to ride at Kentucky. So let's talk about the next few weeks then leading up to the event after Galway. What's the plan for him, Frankie?
Yeah, so after Galway, Chatwin and I will go home and get our things packed and spend a few days of downtime, and then we'll go to Twin Rivers and we'll run an intermediate, and we'll go slow as our last gallop. And we've done that now with him pretty much at all of the big FEIs, and I think it works for both of us. It's a reminder to have fun, it's a reminder to enjoy the moment, and it's a very non-pressure situation to work out any final things that I'll be trying to fiddle with, whether it be something in the warm-up, or do I want to do this with the pre-ride, or do I want to switch something a little bit? It really gives us an opportunity to do that, and it seems to work the best for us both mentally to get us where we need to be. We did it with FairHill, the exact timing between Kentucky, so it'll be 2 weeks prior, and that's what we did with Woodside prior to FairHill, and Chatwin will fly that next Monday or Tuesday, and we'll get into Kentucky, and then he'll fly with Kaylana Smith, who is a good friend of mine and Tammy's daughter, obviously, and will be helping me there. And she'll go with him on the plane from Southern California. And then I will spend a couple of days with the boys and then reunite with them midweek in the Bluegrass State. And then we'll do our final preparations at Allie Knowles Farm is the plan, and then ship in to Kentucky on probably Monday.
On the Monday. Right. Now, what about the family? Are they going with you?
They're not going. I have just gotten to a place where I need to focus at these big events. They didn't come to FairHill, and it's really hard to leave the boys home, but I need to be 100% focused on Chatwin that week. And so I will go home with them for a couple of days before, and then I'll leave them in very good hands at home with some of my family. And but I have a huge support system coming to Kentucky, and Tammy coming to help me. And one of my best friends, Kelly Pracer, will fly out. And so I have all my people coming too, and that'll be great in itself.
Fantastic. How old are the boys? Are they old enough to understand what you're doing and put things in perspective?
Mm-hmm. Well, sort of. My older one is 3.5 now, and the young one's 1.5. So Drake knows I'm at a horse show, and he usually says, "Mom, are you with Auntie Tam?" And I actually came down to Galway last week and brought Chatwin and did a jumper show, and then I flew home to be with the boys for 3 days, and he's in great hands down here with Tammy. So she had him for 3 days, and he had a day off, etc. And then I flew back, and Drake was really bummed when I was leaving, but I said, I have to go bring Chatwin home. Don't you want him to come back? And he said, yeah, I need him home. So my biggest goal is always to bring Chat back, because he really doesn't belong to me. He belongs to Drake. So, as long as I bring Chat home, I'm always forgiven. So, that's, kind of how it is. And they'll come to twin with me, with my mom, because we have some training there with Eric Duvander. So we're there actually for 6 days. And so the boys will come down for that whole time, and my mom will be there with them. And so it gives me a good opportunity to kind of, spend time with them, yet be where I need to be. And then they'll get me full time back as soon as Kentucky's over for a while.
There you go. It's a juggling act, isn't it, when you have a family? And I'm curious as to where your fitness program comes in, because you have your own business as well as being a mum and a wife and a daughter and the mum of Chatwin for now. Anyway,
yeah.
Where does your fitness, your own physical fitness program fit into all this, Frankie, when you're going into, a 5-star?
Yeah, I'm working with a lady named Britta Peterson, and she's been tremendous. And I just started working with her actually in January, and I feel like it's been really, really helpful in my riding and taking it to the next level. And if you watched the live stream at FairHill, you heard Jim Wofford say what a horrible job he thought I did and how out of shape he thought I was. So hopefully he'll think I'm doing a little better, maybe, or a little more fit. But I was actually really, really sick at FairHill on cross country, and it definitely didn't help. Not that it's an excuse, but I certainly have been, really focusing on my fitness, not just from a fitness standpoint, but from a riding fitness standpoint with Britta. And she does like specific workouts for riders and watches you on your horse. And so it's really been super, super helpful. And, I'm not just coming off of having a baby, which is also amazingly helpful, because I think it takes, for me anyways, and there's people who can do it so much better. Like I look at Sinead and I'm like, dang girl, you're back in fighting form quick. But I think especially when you only have one horse to try to get back in shape from a riding standpoint it takes a while. And it seems to take me a full year until I'm really back to where I need to be. And so I definitely feel like I'm stronger this season and in a better place from a physical standpoint to be able to help Chatwin to the fullest of my abilities. And, I think we're just trying to enjoy the process, because with Kentucky, I feel like having worked there so many years and having rooted on so many clients and so many friends and really seeing the process of trying to get there, I just feel so strongly that every single horse and rider that gets there have worked incredibly, incredibly hard. And that should be celebrated too. And I think sometimes people forget that. And so I'm just trying to enjoy these last few weeks and go to Kentucky and have a good time. And hopefully, whatever else will fall into place because we've done our homework.
Absolutely. You will be prepared and you know the turf there. I'm just curious about what kind of footing he likes. Being a California boy there, what do you think he'll make of the footing in Kentucky?
Yeah, Chatwin's not much. He's actually galloped on similar footing to that quite a bit now, having gone to Bromont and FairHill, and those I think are similar in terms of footing, and he kind of enjoys the mud and welcomes the rain. So I'm not worried about that with Chatwin for sure. I think that, even though we've chosen to stay west before FairHill and now before Kentucky, that's a choice I've made. From a mental standpoint, that's how we succeed the most. And so that's also a carefully calculated decision. And, but, I think people forget Chatwin's gone east 3 years now. So we've definitely, ridden on a variety of turf. And I think that the bigger galloping atmosphere and the more gallopy tracks suit him best. And he's incredibly fast on tracks like that. I think FairHill was proof of that, only being one of 2 horses to make the time. And those are the tracks that suit us best. So now we just have to hope that we've done our homework, that the stars align a little bit, and enjoy the process. And I think as long as we do that, the rest is just, we'll see. But it's exciting to continue to develop our partnership. And it's fun coming into this year because I still feel like we have so much to learn and so much room to grow. And that's an exciting place to be in.
And he's a good traveller, is he now? Frankie, having done this a few times, didn't take anything out of him?
Yeah, he's a great traveler. My horse prior to him was such a bad traveler, and it's great to have him be such a good traveler. But I know him so well, too, and I think that really is helpful. I mean, Chatwin and I go in the trailer every single day, and a little bit like a, backyard Western horse, I pack him up and throw him in the trailer and drive him down to the ring I ride at a few miles away. So, definitely being in the trailer doesn't seem to impact Chatwin at all. He's so comfortable in there that he, eats really well, and he's flown a fair amount of times now and likes the plane. So I actually was able to snag a cheap flight in the USDA auction. So I got that for him so I can help him out and fly him there. And then he has to truck home. So, but he's a great traveler, and it's really nice having him live at my house because I know him so well. And I think that is really helpful on trips because I really know everything about Chatwin on a daily basis.
Oh, it's a wonderful partnership, obviously, Frankie, and it's an exciting time for you to be heading into your first 5-star event there at the Land Rover Kentucky 3-day event. We look forward to seeing you there, and perhaps we can catch up there too and get you on camera and hear how it's going with Chatwin. Yeah,
sounds great. I won't be on camera this year for the first time in 8 years at the venue, so I'm looking forward to not having to brush my hair as much. I'm just kidding. But no, I'm excited to be there from the other side of the realm of things. And there's a lot of people going this year who I know, and some other fun first timers like Chris Pally and some guys I know too. So it'll be fun to be in the action with them.
Oh, it will be, absolutely. Well, we wish you the very best, Frankie, and look forward to seeing you there and following your journey through the event.
Thanks so much, Chris, and thanks for having us on.
Well, Frankie's trip to Galway Downs did not go as planned. Since we spoke to her, they went on to have 2 rails down in the show jumping, and that was followed with some real bad luck on the cross-country when they slipped on a turn on the flat. So that would be a very disappointing end to the competition, but they're none the worse for it. They both bounced back, and they will be still on course to go to Kentucky later this month. And I should mention that we will be at Kentucky for that 5-star event. That all begins with the first veterinary inspection on April 24th. So join us there if you are interested in the sport of eventing. I'll be bringing you live coverage on our Facebook page. Just look for Wisp Sports and set your notifications and join in those conversations from the Kentucky Horse Park as we cover the event this year. And we'll be following more first-time competitors as they prepare for this year's event. And we turn to dressage now because my second guest is British-born but American-based Katherine Bateson-Chandler, who, together with the 14-year-old Dutch gelding Alcazar, won the FEI 4-star Grand Prix Freestyle last week in week 12 of the Global Dressage Festival in Wellington, Florida. Their win resulted in a personal best score of 75.85%. So that was particularly pleasing for this partnership, which is really consolidated now. And I was able to catch up with Katherine yesterday to reflect on that win and what's next for her this season. Hi, Katherine. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's good to talk to you, catch up with you a little bit, because you are what I consider one of those working beavers of the working bees of dressage, and you really do put everything into the sport, and you've got a partnership there, a well-established partnership with Alcazar now that it really seems to be coming into fruition, a consolidated partnership now.
Absolutely. I think, for the most part, you hear about a lot of people that just sort of like shoots come out at the top and stay there. But for, I think, 99% of us, it's sort of a slog, and you just have to put the time in and the hours in. And then finally it all starts to gel and come together.
Well, it certainly did last week there in the final Friday Night Stars at the Chatwin Global Dressage Festival down there in Wellington, Florida. As I said in my introduction to you, that was a really convincing win and a personal best for you too in the freestyle.
Absolutely. Yep. We've been, I got a new freestyle a year ago or so that Tom Hunt did the music for, and we did Hester and I did the choreography for. And so I knew it was, a really super freestyle. And with the new way that we have our system with degree of difficulty, you can really make these freestyles exciting and really make for more points for yourself. So I'm excited that we had our personal best this weekend after doing that freestyle, I think, 3 times now. So I'm excited for the future.
Well, it certainly is a collection of music styles. It comes out, all singing, all dancing, that music, doesn't it? And then you really mix it up a little bit. So how did you come? I mean, I'm always interested how riders come up with that. I know it's a team effort with the choreography and so on, a musical composition. But is this somewhat a choice of your music style anyway? Or was it just what you thought would work for this program and you just happened to like the music?
I mean, I think it's a little bit of everything. I think he's the kind of horse that's sort of a fun, active horse, so he needs that kind of, I believe, upbeat music to highlight that, because I think that's a big, strength of his. I had seen the movie La La Land, and I loved the music of City of Stars. I thought it was such a beautiful song. So I started there and said to Tom, I really love this song, so what do you think about building from there? Look at the music from the rest of La La Land. So my walk and my trot and piaffe passage are from La La Land, and then we had to sort of find something. Canter music always seems like a challenge. It's very difficult to find that beat. So we used Sing, 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 which actually had used years ago. Robert had a freestyle, Dover, had a freestyle with a horse named Rainier that we had years ago that used Sing, 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 and it works really well for canter music. You actually hear it quite a bit. But I think Tom did a great job of making it sound like it all came from the same place. And I think it really fits the horse and really works together. People seem to love it, and the judges are always complimenting me.
Yeah, and it really does. You can see how that it would engage the audience, and you take them on that journey with you. It's really compelling music, and I'm just curious about the way your partnership with him has emerged, Katherine, because you've had him a while now, and you obviously have consolidated what you've got. You know each other very well. And he's a horse that's been a little bit nervous in the past. Is he getting really grown up about the atmosphere now?
Yes, definitely. He's grown up a lot. He's been to a lot of different venues now, all over the world. And, again, sometimes it just takes time. I like a horse with a little bit more nerve and a hotter type of horse, but the hard part about those horses is that then it usually does take a bit more time. And unfortunately, there's no way of doing it other than doing it. You never get to practice in an atmosphere really like we have at Global at night for sure. It's a very big atmosphere. So I think you just have to sort of go in there and make a fool of yourself sometimes and just know it's for the greater good and take your time and build the horse's confidence. There's really no other way around it with a horse like him. And I always believed in him, and, he trusts me now and knows I'm not going to put him in a situation, where he's going to be terrified. And so, it's just the hours in the arena for a horse like him.
Yeah, then let's talk about the season that you've had with him so far. As you said, you've done that freestyle a couple of times before. How is this season emerged for you with this partnership? Has it gone the way you wanted? Obviously, the result there on Friday was couldn't have been better. It was just as anybody would want. But in terms of your overarching program with him, how does this fit in this season?
I mean, I'm thrilled. This horse has sort of had two comebacks in his life. He had colic surgery a couple of years ago, and he bounced right back from that and went in the ring and had his personal best then. And then he had an injury the last day of the last show last year, so just a year ago. And actually, he was never even lame from it, but he should have been. He's just a tough horse. And he healed really well from that. I really took a long time to rehab him because I wanted to have it back for this season strong. And he came out swinging. And I think he ended up, we did 4 shows, and he ended up having 4 firsts, I think, 3 seconds, and a third. So I can't really beat that. I think he actually won a lot of money, which was really nice for his owner. So as we don't usually win much money in dressage, but he just happened to hit the right things at the right times. So, really, it was a bit of a dream season for us. So I'm thrilled going out of this with a good sound horse and then ready to move on to Europe.
Yeah, as you say, you've been in the top 3, only 1 third, but, all those wins and seconds, it's a tremendous record. And it really bodes well for this season. So let's talk about the season ahead then. What do you plan to do with him? And is Pan Am's on your radar?
No, Pan Am's are not on our radar. It was never sort of in the cards for us. His owner was a little nervous about the circumstances and stuff. So, we decided at the very beginning we weren't going to do that. And instead sort of, hopefully save him for next year. The Olympics is more the goal. So we're going to go over to Carl's April 20th we fly. And me and some of my students are going to go over. And then I'm planning on doing, hopefully, the Nations Cup team in Compiègne. And then probably Bolesworth and maybe another nice show in England, and then hopefully going on to Aachen. And then we'll come back to Florida a little bit earlier this year.
Wonderful. That sounds like a fun springtime. And Carl, of course, for those who are not familiar, whenever you mention Carl, it isn't always your husband, it is Carl Hester.
Exactly. It gets confusing.
It does get confusing. Not everybody has 2 Carls in their life, and one of them being Carl Hester.
True. Not everybody needs 2 Carls in their lives.
Right. So it's springtime back in England, which should be fun. So do you get to ride some of Carl's horses while you're there then, if you're only taking yourself and your pony and some students? How does your day begin? Because often when riders go abroad with one horse in a competition, they get pretty bored because they only have one horse.
Yeah, I'm definitely not going to be bored. I'm going to obviously take Lonzy with me. Carl's always very, very generous about his horses. So yes, I do get to ride whatever horses. They're not precious with their horses. So I get to ride all kinds of gold medalists and young ones coming along and whatever else Carl feels like he wants to put me on. But I'm actually taking Becca Hart's coming with me. She's going to do the paras. She's going to do Hartbury and Bishop Burton, so she's coming with 2 horses, and then I actually have 6 other horses that are going to come with me that are clients' horses, and I've got 2 young ones over there that I'm going to bring back with me, so I'm definitely not going to be bored.
You are not, are you? And tell us about the youngsters that you've got then.
I have a 5-year-old that I bred, and that we're going to do a little partnership with Jane with and sort of see how she comes along. But I love that one. She's been a wonderful horse. So I think, I wanted to leave her in Europe when she was young because I just think that's the right environment for, a young horse to be in. I don't think Wellington's ideal in that way. But now she's sort of come along. Now she's 5 and sort of starting to move along in her training. I'm going to bring her back with me. And then I have a 6-year-old that I just bought to bring along as well. That's really exciting. She's a contango, which I looked for a long time because Lonzy Alcazar is a contango. And I know it only means a tiny bit, but to me, I'm like, he's so special to me that I want to try and, try with another one and see if I can, have similar results. So I've got those two coming along, which will be exciting. Have a 5 and 6-year-old next year, a 6 and 7-year-old. And lots of amazing students.
And who is the mare by the other one in England? How's she bred?
The one I bred is by a local stallion named Lantanzer. That's actually a Holsteiner sort of jumping line stallion. And I also have some other ones I've sort of, for me, the only way I can really afford to do it for myself is to do a bit of breeding or buy them very young. So I've got the 5-year-old I bred. I have a 3-year-old that I bred who is out of the same mare that I used to ride Grand Prix. Dea is her name. She's still alive. And that one's by Utopia, Carl's Grand Prix stallion.
Oh, right.
And I also have another brood mare that I've had now one foal from, and she's going to have another one. I'm just sort of bringing up a little bit, and it's much more affordable for me to do that in the UK. Because over here I just find it way too expensive, and they have such a lovely life. So it's sort of fun. It's a bit of a gamble, but I think it's an affordable gamble. And, if you have nice horses and breed them to nice horses, hopefully something nice comes out.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you get another one with contango fingerprints on him. And
yeah.
Right. So do you use embryo transfer then for your mares?
No.
Nope.
No, Dea gave birth to both of those. Yep. And again, I tried embryo transfer one time and it didn't work and it was very expensive. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to do that. But she just had the 2 and now she's retired from that because it made me too nervous. And I just don't, I didn't want her to be a baby factory after everything she did for me. So I have that one. And then like I said, I have another lovely brood mare, that I bought that had an injury. And I love their bloodlines, the little I know. And I bred her to a lovely stallion named Ferdo. That's a young stallion that I really also has Pharaoh bloodlines, which I love. So I'm hopeful.
Yeah, it sounds like it's really coming together. You've got a nice little program going there, of different ages as well. You always want something coming along, right?
You have to. It's the only way, especially after after my horse had an injury last year, it really gives you a big wake-up call. Like, you can't do it with just one, like I said. And so this has been, sort of affordable for me and anybody, I recommend to, certainly younger riders as well. Don't, time goes by quickly. So don't be afraid to buy a foal or a yearling or a 2-year-old and take a little bit of a gamble that way because, if you have a couple of those, hopefully something will be your future star.
And it's actually a great deal of fun, isn't it, following a youngster, getting them as a real baby and watching them mature. It's a journey. It's like having children. Yeah, exactly. Since I don't have children, those are my surrogate it's
children.
Your next,
and the foals
right.
obviously are just, it's so much fun. Like, what am I going to have and what's going to come out? I seem to breed a lot of mares. I seem to end up with a lot of mares. But it's really fun. And I just can't believe the first one that I bred, I can't believe she's 5 now and then I'm going to be riding her. I just think it's like magical. She's so lovely. And she's always like, her mother was a little bit temperamental, should we say. And this one is the spitting image of her mother. She looks exactly identical, but she is the sweetest, kindest, most untemperamental mare I've ever met. So I'm excited.
Oh, that's nice. And you can ride anything, gelding, stallion, mare. It doesn't matter what. A good horse is a good horse. I'm not a big fan of stallions, but then again, when I'm over there, I get to ride Utopia a lot, and he is just the most darling stallion in the world. So there you go. And you're not going to turn down that ride.
No.
Exactly. How many students do you have? How much of your day comprises of actually coaching down there in Wellington, Katherine?
At this point, that part of my life is growing exponentially, which has been really fun. I would say I'm here at the farm riding until about 10:30 or 11, and then I teach most days in season while it's full on until about 6:30. So a week, I've figured out I teach about 50 to 52 lessons a week.
Wow.
So it's a fair amount. And I have like the most loyal, amazing, fantastic students of anybody in Wellington, I think. So I'm very lucky.
Well, not everyone takes to coaching. They kind of do it because it's a revenue stream for them. And and it happens kind of, almost more by accident than design with some riders, because it's an essential part of their business. But it's something,
Absolutely.
because of your background, Katherine, and growing up in England, it's something. You went through the BHS system. You're probably more of a natural teacher. Do you find that has helped you along the way, that you naturally have that, instinct for teaching, for coaching?
Yeah, I mean, I really, really enjoy teaching. And again, I have fantastic students with lovely horses. And I enjoy teaching everybody. There's not a lot of very young children to teach. But I have a girl that I was teaching since she was 16, I think, and now she's 21, and I've loved teaching her through the years. She's actually coming with me this year to England again. So I very much enjoy teaching, and I think, it's a good job I do, because for sure it's, the one thing that you can do that actually doesn't cost you anything in this sport. So it is for sure a nice money maker. But I certainly, I've got some people that I would, teach for free if they're, people I've known for years that I know struggle a little bit financially. I try and do a little bit of that if I can. And no, I love teaching. I think it's very rewarding.
Well, everything's really going well for you now, and with that win and the spring season ahead to look forward to over there in the UK, you must be on riding a bit of a wave now, Katherine. Do you feel that your career is maturing now exponentially, and you're in a really good place in your career?
Yeah, for sure. I feel like I'm in a good place. The hard thing about being a dressage rider is we're never satisfied. And, even when you come out of the ring and you're, everybody's like, oh, you won. You're like, oh, I wish I'd gotten this, and I wish I didn't mess this up, and I wish this feeling was better. And you're already trying to think about how to fix it. So I think that, unfortunately, is a bit of a curse that most of the dressage riders that are career riders have. We're never happy. So for sure I'm also in that place a little bit, but I couldn't be happier with my horse. And I'm thrilled for Jane Clark that owns him, that we've had a really fun season, because she sort of stuck with me for the ride, and a lot of ups and downs. And you need people who just sort of stick with you and say, no, it's going to be okay. We just need to crack on and keep going. And obviously both Carls. And I have such an amazing, support crew and friends, and I've been around Wellington for so many years that I know most people, and they've known me since I was, quite young.
Yeah, absolutely wonderful season ahead of you there. I wish you the very best over there in Europe. Aachen obviously being the big one for you. That is also quite an imposing competition. How do you think he's going to handle that now? I mean, it's a tremendous environment.
Well, we did actually do Aachen 2 years ago, and unfortunately we did the Grand Prix, and he didn't feel quite right, and then he ended up having major colic surgery the next night. So I feel like Aachen is something that we need to go back and conquer and not have that experience again, because that was quite traumatic. But I love Aachen. Aachen to me is just like the Olympics every year. I think it's just exciting and fun and amazing. So I'm so crossing my fingers that I get to go this year.
Yeah, super. Okay, well, have you put the gremlins behind you there after last time you were there? Well, terrific. Well, Katherine, before you go, one of the things I often ask riders is, what do you most value about being involved in sport?
I obviously love the competition aspect of it, and to be honest, I love the camaraderie that we all have. I have lifelong friends that I love, that I've met in this sport, and it's a real community, especially with us, with the horses. We have that common interest, and Wellington being the special environment that it is. I think the friendships that I've made through the years are what I value the most, and the relationship with our horses.
Well, certainly that. And again, congratulations on your win last week, Katherine. A tremendous win for you there. And the best of luck with Alcazar this season. Go well and stay safe. And and keep coming those results. It sounds like Tokyo is not that far away.
No, it isn't. It's much closer than we think. Our trials are going to start in a couple of months, so for sure. Thank you, Chris.
Katherine.
All right,
you bet.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Conversations from the world of women's sports. This is Wisp Sports Radio.
And as the winter season wraps up there in Wellington, Florida, it also sees the end of the indoor season, which culminates, of course, with the World Cup dressage and jumping finals, which take place this week in Gothenburg, Sweden. And if you've been following the World Cup, you'll know that Germany's Isabel Wirth has been having tremendous success again. And if she's on form, she'll always be the one to beat. And certainly with 5 World Cup titles to her name, the doyen of dressage will be giving it all she has with Viagold to make it a hat-trick of World Cup titles. Although there are combinations that could deny her the title again, including one of the US ladies, and Laura Graves will know this is her best chance to add this to her career highlights with Vedadis. And in the show jumping final, well, veteran Basie Madden is also going for a hat-trick and will be under no illusion about the stiff competition that faces her. The popular American rider has got her work cut out if she's to bring home that title again with Breitling. And the US is represented by 5 riders. She's got 3 other women joining her, including the 20-year-old Eve Jobs and 21-year-old Kelly Cruciotti. They will be 2 of the youngest riders in action, along with Georgina Bloomberg. So a strong female contingent from the US. And American women have a great record, actually, at the World Cup show jumping finals. Back in 1983, Melanie Smith won the title. And in 1986, Leslie Burr-Linehan was another American female winner. And then following year, it was that Catherine Birdsall actually won. So as well as Basie, of course, and her amazing record of 3 in a row, American women do have a great record. So good luck to Basie and to all of the women who will be competing at the World Cup finals in the both dressage and show jumping. And that all takes place in Gothenburg, Sweden this week. Now, as I said, the World Cup finals marks the end of the indoor season, so once the dust has settled in Gothenburg, the focus will turn to the spring season of Nations Cups and the selection for the Pan American Games, which takes place in Lima, Peru this summer, as well as the European Championships, because both competitions are the last chance for nations to qualify for the 2020 Tokyo Olympics. Now, we'll be following these stories and much more here on The Horse Show as we lead up to the Pan American Games this summer. We've seen lots of great talent emerge from the Winter Equestrian Festival and the Global Dressage Festival down there in Wellington, Florida this season, as well as, of course, the veterans of show jumping and dressage that have been keeping the youngsters at bay on the European circuit this winter. So it'll be interesting to see who emerges and is put to the test at the Nations Cup Series. There will be lots of great action to follow, and we'll be bringing you news, views and interviews here on The Horse Show. So do join me again. I'll be back next week with another of our interviews with the first-timers going to the Land Rover Kentucky 3-day event. And, of course, we'll have news of the World Cup finals from Gothenburg. Be sure to follow us on social media so you keep up with all the news from around the world of women's sports. Just look for Wisp Sports. And if you have any comments or questions or even suggestions for guests, we would love to hear from you. Do drop us a line to info@wispsports.com. And if you follow us on Facebook, you can also watch the live shows that we do there. Face to Face is the name of our Facebook live show, which is hosted by myself, and we also have some guest hosts too. And that's our show for this week. Thank you so much for joining me. We know that you have lots of choices when it comes to podcasts these days, so we do appreciate you tuning into Wisp Sports and for supporting women in sport everywhere. Goodbye for now.